Hi, welcome back to the Gemara in Gittin, starting on Daf Mem Amud Bet, immediately following the Mishnah. Like the Mishnah, this is a harder piece of Gemara, and so I apologize in advance that this video is not going to answer every question you might have about this Gemara, but hopefully it will give you a basic understanding, and we'll work from there. Also, before I start reading and translating this Gemara, I want to translate one word that might be a little bit tricky, and that word is shibud, right here. And a shibud is, in English, the word is a lien, L-I-E-N, and it basically means like a mortgage. So if you have a mortgage on your home, and so that means that the bank essentially owns part of your home or has partial ownership over your home, has some control over your home, that means that the bank has a lien on your home. Because if you were to default on the loan, the bank could seize your home. So shibud is a lien, it's like a mortgage, and it means that there's some ownership involved. Now I'll start from the beginning of the Gemara. Eved she'asa'o rabo apotiki v'shichuro. That's the quote from the Mishnah. Keep that on its own and highlight it in red to show that it's the quote from the Mishnah. Mi shichuro. The Gemara asks, who freed him? We know that the person who's being freed is the slave, but who did the freeing? Amar Rav, Rabo Rishon. The answer is, according to Rav, the first master. So the person who owned the slave and set him aside as an apotiki, he's the one who freed him. That's the answer. So we'll put this as the answer to this being the question. And now we have the explanation. Shurat hadin ein ha'eved chayav klum l'rabo sheni. According to the letter of the law, the slave isn't obligated in any way to the second master, because presumably the first master freed him, and so he's no longer set aside as an apotiki because now he's free. Kiza Rava, in accordance with the opinion of Rava. Here, I'll do it this way. De Amar Rava, Hekdesh chametz v'shichrur mafki'in midei shibud. Hekdesh, making something, giving something to the temple and making it hekdesh, making it belong to the Beit HaMikdash. Chametz, or having something be chametz at a time when you're not allowed to have chametz. Rashi explains that. Or shichrur, or freeing something, freeing a slave. Those take away shibud, they lift the lien from something. So because the first master freed the slave, he's no longer set aside as an apotiki. He doesn't have that status anymore, and that's why the Eved is now not obligated in any way to the second master. I'm going to say that this is an explanation. Really, I could have put it as part of the answer, but okay. So this is explanation, and this is the support or the proof, right? This is the statement of Rava that backs up that idea that once you have shichrur, you don't have a shibud anymore, and so that's why the slave is not obligated in any way to the second master. Ela mipnei tikkun ha'olam, but because of tikkun ha'olam, right, as opposed to the shurat hadin, as opposed to the letter of the law, because of our desire for tikkun ha'olam, or because of the need for tikkun ha'olam, shema yimtze'enu bashuk, lest they find him in the marketplace, lest they find the slave in the marketplace, v'yomarlo avdiata, and he'll say to him, you're my slave, meaning the second master will come, right? The person who thought he was going to get this slave will come and say, you're my slave, right? He'll see him wandering around in the shuk and he'll say, you're actually my slave. Kofinet rabo sheni v'oseh ben chorin. So therefore we force the second master to free him as well, to make him a ben chorin. V'kotev eved shtar al damav. And the eved, the slave, writes a document saying, for what he's worth, basically saying that he owes the second master the money. So the debt got passed along to the slave, but the slave is freed because of this tikkun ha'olam concern that the sort of the idea of him being a slave, or the possibility that he's a slave, will continue to haunt him, even though he really isn't, because the first master freed him, but the second master has to free him also, so that we don't have this sort of shadow of doubt hanging over him. Rashbag Omer, and then continuing the explanation, now we're explaining Rashbag's opinion. Rashbag said, Ein ha'eved kotev ela meshachrer. Ela meshachrer kotev, sorry. Rashbag says, no, the Eved doesn't write the shtar for what he's worth. The meshachrer, the one who freed him, has to write it. In other words, it's that first master who freed him who has to write the document to the first guy, to the creditor, the one who lent him the money, saying, I actually owe you this money. So that altogether explains the Mishnah according to the opinion of Rav, using Rava's statement as a support. B'mai kamiflagei. Then the Gemara asks, what do they disagree about? What do the Tana Kama and Rashbag disagree about? B'mazik shibudo shel chavero kamiflagei. They disagree about what happens when somebody damages the lien of somebody else, when someone damages someone else's claim to property. Demar savar chayav, umar savar patur. Because one of them says that you are chayav when you damage someone else's claim to property, that you have a financial obligation in that case. And one of them says patur, that when you damage someone's claim to property, you don't have any financial responsibility. Itmar nami, it was also said, it was stated elsewhere, hamazik shibudo shel chavero, in a case where you damage the lien of somebody else, or you damage their claim to property, banu lemachloket Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel v'Rabbanan. That is exactly the machloket. Right? We've reached the machloket of Rabban Shimon ben Gamliel and all the other rabbis. So this is support for the idea that that's actually what they're arguing about, because we have sort of testimony from elsewhere that we know this is the thing that they argue about. Ula Amar, Mishichoro. Ula asks who freed him, right? Going back to trying to read our Mishnah, who does the shichur described in that first part of the Mishnah? Rabo Sheni was actually the second owner, meaning the person who's going to take the slave in payment for the debt if the first owner defaults on the debt. That is actually the person who does the freeing according to Ula. So we'll do this as the question, and this is the answer. And now we're going to explain this. Shurat hadin ein ha'eved chayav klum b'mitzvot. According to a strict interpretation of the law, according to the letter of the law, the slave is not obligated in mitzvot at all, meaning he is not fully Jewish. He has not really totally been freed because it was the second master who did it, and the second master doesn't exactly have the right to free him, right? He doesn't belong to the second master yet. He still belongs to the first master. So that's how it should work, mipnei shurat hadin, right? That sort of seems like there's no real change in status of the first, of the slave because the second master did the freeing. Ela mipnei tikkun ha'olam, but because of tikkun ha'olam, sheharei yatsa alav shem ben chorin, because literally the name of ben chorin has gone out on him, right? People now are starting to think of this guy, oh, he's a free person, right? They're viewing him as a free person, not as an eved. Kofin et rabo rishon ve'oseh oto ben chorin. We force the first master to make the slave into a free person. V'kotev shtar al damav. And he writes a shtar, he writes a document saying that he owns the value, meaning he owes that value still to the person who would have been the second master. Rashbag Omer, Eino kotev, ela mishachrer kotev. And Rashbag says, no, he doesn't write it. The one who freed him writes it. So it's not the first master who writes the document saying that he owes the money. It's the second master who writes the note saying that this money is owed because the slave is now freed. I'm going to put all of this in blue as the explanation. B'mai kamiflagei, about what do they disagree? What are they really arguing about? Behezek she'eino nikar kamiflagei. They're fighting about hezek she'eino nikar. Damage that is not visible, damage that can't be seen just by looking. Mar savar shmei hezek, umar savar lo shmei hezek. One of them thinks that it's considered real damage, And one of them thinks that it's not considered real damage, meaning such that you'd be financially obligated for it. This is the question. One more round of questions and answers. Ula mai temelo amar Rav. Why doesn't Ula say Rav's opinion, right? Why does Ula think that it's the second master and not the first master who does the original freeing? Amar lecha sheni rabo karitle? Question mark, exclamation point. Ula would say to you, can you really call the second one rabo? Right? The fact that it uses the word rabo, that can't possibly be a reference to the second master, because you wouldn't call him rabo. And Rav my time lo amar Ula. And Rav, why doesn't Rav hold like Ula? Why doesn't he have Ula's opinion? Amar lacha, Rav would say to you, Sheni meshachrer karitle. In other words, they're very careful about their pronouns, and they want to make sure that they're assigning the right pronoun to the right person. And Ula doesn't think that you could use the word rabo to describe the acher in the Mishnah. And Rav doesn't think that you could use the word mishachrer to describe the second guy, because he really has no right to do any freeing. He doesn't own the slave, and so he's not a real mishachrer. Okay, we will stop there.